Cross our fingers.
You're on.
Well, tonight, thank you for joining Mr. Ivan, Mrs. Laird, and myself. I'm Ms. Patton. I'm the 8th grade assistant principal for our college readiness info meeting. We're going to be going over several topics tonight, so I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us tonight. This is a little different than how we've done it in the past, so bear with us if we have any glitches. We're not really so Zoom savvy as we are team savvy. So as I said, we'd like to welcome you tonight. We're going to be going over several things. The first thing I'd like to go over with you, and I'm going to share my screen, is the readiness for high school. So how do I get promoted to high school? The first thing is you have to get good grades and pass all your classes. All the students need at least an average final grade of a D or above to pass a class. And for some of those classes, that would be also count into effect their midterm and their final grades, which are factored into the whole grade. For high school, you have to have 3 courses minimum in language arts, which would be their ELA class. They would have to have 3 minimum classes, because I know some of our kids progress, they take a lot of stuff virtually. They would have to have 3 classes in mathematics, 3 classes in science, and 3 classes in social sciences, which for us would be US history, civics, and world cultures for most of the kids. So they have to pass all those in all 3 years to be able to be promoted to high school. The situation to watch out for is if the students have any Fs in any of their classes, especially if they've gotten any double Fs as we move into the next part of the school year. Many parents have already been notified, and I know many of you are very up on keeping appraised of how your students are doing via their portal pages and the parent focus. So I do commend, because Mrs. Laird gets a lot of emails regarding outreach, how to help them, tutoring opportunities, what's going on with teachers. So if a student has gotten a double F in one of their core classes, we will be reaching out at the semester break to tell you that that student is going to be enrolled in course recovery. And in course recovery, they will have to get at least a C or above for their first semester to offset anything that they're going to do second semester, so that we can guarantee that that student is going to pass and be able to move on to the next year. So that's very important. If we reach out to you, please make sure that you're getting a hold of us. The core classes are the most important. There are certain classes that the kids take additionally, like health that's required by the state, PE that's required by the state, reading if they're at a certain level, but those don't count into the courses that they need to actually move on to high school. For those of you that are joining us late, again, I would just like to remind you that we are trying to record this for you, and we will be putting it on our school website. Additionally, everyone has been muted, so if you have any questions, I also put it in the chat box. Please put all your questions in the chat box, and we'll be compiling all the questions for you and answers and putting them on the weekend message and on our website. To move on to high school, the kids have to pass those core classes at all 3 grade levels. Some of your students are taking what I like to call a 7.5. They're taking their 8th grade courses right now, but they're still taking a makeup class from 7th grade, like a math class or a science class. When they get to 8th grade, there is no 8.5. So it's very important, and my office works very hard to make sure the kids are on it and doing what they need to, because if I don't have those passing grades, I will not be able to pass them on to high school. And so the course recovery is really important for them to be working on as they're working on their second semester. Additionally, if they fail 1 or 2 classes, the kids, if they don't want to take course recovery, which I don't recommend, they can wait till summer school. In summer school, they'll have to do both first and second semester coursework to make up their work. To make up their work, as opposed to just working on the first semester during the remainder of the school year. Additionally, if they fail more than 3 classes, they will not be allowed to take summer school, because they won't be progressing to high school. So anything beyond a 3-class failure, they won't even have an opportunity to do in summer school. They will be retained. So that's why if you have any students that might be failing, 2 or more classes, it's important that they at least try and knock one out of the course recovery basket now before they get to summer. Additionally, it's not a requirement that they get above a 3 to move on to high school, but it's important for them to strive using the skills they're learning if they're in a reading class or if they are in an ELA class, to make sure they're getting at least on grade level, which is a 3 or above on their state assessments, especially because the prior year we're going off of 6th grade coursework as they move into high school, so that we can make sure that they are placed appropriately when they get to high school. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, but that doesn't take away that if you want them to try and take an honors class and they aren't there, that they won't enroll them in that. Just understand that they might have a little bit more difficulty as they move on. So the 3 and above is really so they don't have to get into an intensive math class or in a reading class. Because as we know, as we remember, when you get to high school, that's when all the fun electives happen, and you really want to make sure that you're having a good time while you're there and enjoying that whole high school experience. Additionally, when they get to high school, a lot of their classes will be weighted. And if the students now are taking any honors classes like high school honors or English or algebra, those classes are weighted a little different. And I do want to stress to the parents, because we do have a number of kids, because we are so wonderful, that are taking high school classes now and that are doing those grades, everything else that's grade level, an 8th grade class will go bye-bye when they move on to high school. But anything that they're taking now, whether it's English honors, physical science, Spanish, DIT, all those classes are going to follow them to high school. And great, they're getting a high school credit for it, but the caveat to that is they're also pulling that GPA with them. And so I've been having conversations with a lot of the kids about how that C right now, even though, yeah, it's passing, Ms. Patton, but that C is a 2.0, and how is that going to affect you when you go to high school, and how are you going to have to dig out of that hole moving forward, depending on what your goals are post high school. So those are conversations I've been having, and if any of you want Mrs. Laird or myself to talk to one of your students particularly, have a one-on-one, every week we're having kids coming up to the office and talking to them about post-middle school, what's going to happen, what it's going to look like. Because as we get down to, now that we're going into the second half of the year, and as we get down to that finish line, a lot of that stuff is going to become way more real to them and way more important. So kind of keeping it in the forefront of their brains is really important. So this is kind of like, how am I going to get to high school? This is where we are now. So the next thing I'd like to talk about, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, is Mrs. Laird is going to hold up a brochure for you all to see. This brochure is for the district application program. And we had this go out to all our students that were in traditional setting. And we also put it on the school website so that you guys who are at my PCS could go through all this information. This started last night. The district application program runs from January 6th through January 15th through, I think, about 5:30 p.m. They'll close it down at the end of the workday. And what that program is, for those of you that are interested or your students are interested, those are for any special programs or any magnet schools, like if they want to go to the IB program, if they want to be in the engineering program, if they want to go to the Center for the Performing Arts. And all those programs are listed in the booklet. The process for applying for the program is on page 3 of the booklet. It's a really easy 3-step process for you to go in and do it for your student. Your student cannot go into the program and apply. You have to do it as the parent. So if you don't have a parent focus portal number, you want to reach out to Miss G in our front office, our DMT, and she'll get all that information for you. Now, some parents—
Can I interrupt one more thing?
Sure.
If for some reason they didn't get a brochure, you didn't get the DAP information, we also have this on our CallWise website, but, and we have extra copies in the main
for the
office.
kids that are here, because a lot of them went into we sent them out before the break, and a lot of them went into their backpacks, and I saw
Online.
laying around school. So if they don't have one, they can swing by, but you can also access it on our website. In the back of the booklet, because it's all the district programs, elementary through high school. So towards the back of the book,
Page 13.
starting on page 13, you're going to find all the high school programs. And those high school programs will tell you what the program involves, if there's any prerequisites that are needed to go into the program, like do they need high school algebra? Do they not need high school algebra? Do they need whatever they might need? And so that kind of tells you what the requirements are. This would be a really good time, because a lot of our high schools are doing it, for you to reach out to have your students shadow at the high school if you choose to. And they are offering shadowing opportunities at many of the high schools right now for students to come in. You reach out to the high school, not through us, to the high school directly. The high school will set you up with a day. They send us a form letter, which we fill out to excuse your student from school from us, from school, not the school work. And then your child will go and shadow for the day at that high school. If you are looking to go to a special program, or your child might be looking at several programs, you can apply for as many programs as you'd like. But when the acceptance period opens up, which is around mid-January, you'll start to get phone calls saying that your child has been accepted to such and such a program, or maybe multiple programs. At that point, you're going to need to make a decision. And that's when, if they applied at multiple schools, you need to make sure that they're picking the right one that they want, because once they make that decision, moms and dads, they come off the list for the other ones. Okay?
All of this information is on page 5, question answers. You can always contact student assignment. The number is right here on the bottom, 588-6210. And again, parents are asking me, do I need to apply for a program? This is a choice.
No, that's only if they want to apply for a program. I was going to address the special attendance next, Mrs. Laird.
Okay.
A lot of the parents also are asking, well, I want my child to go to Eastlake, but I'm zoned for Palm Harbor, or I want them to go to whatever. If you want them to apply to a high school that does not have a special program, you will not follow this procedure. If you want to apply to a high school that you are not zoned to, but you are not applying to one of these magnet or programs, what you have to do is you have to call student assignment. And in student assignment, what they will do is they will give you the information for you to do a special attendance request. And you find out about the special attendance request after this period, which is more like springtime. So it
March,
is
April.
process. So they will tell you in student assignment when that window is for the application. Because if you miss that window, moms and dads, then you do not have another window until like summer. And then you're kind of like at the bottom of the list. So it's very important that if that's what you're looking at, not a special magnet program or a program, but you're looking to go to another zone school, that you go through student assignment for the special attendance requests. And again, that's the same number that's on page 5 of the booklet that Mrs. Laird gave you.
And also, if you're applying and difficulty, the student assignment, you can always email. They left their email information and the number. So if you are applying this week until the end of next week and there's some difficulties, they are offering resources to assist parents too.
The next thing I want to move on before we start the PowerPoint and talk about high school and some of the things that are available to the students and the requirements when we get into high school is I'd like to talk about registration. We get a lot of phone calls from parents in the spring about when can my child register. We act as an intermediary between ourselves and the high school and you all. We don't do any high school registrations typically at our school, and I'm sure this year is going to be very different in how we do registrations. Typically what we do is we get the registration form, if you will. It's kind of like the course request forms that we gave you all in 6th and 7th grade, where you kind of picked courses. And we meet with the kids prior to them getting the forms and bringing them home to you. And we tell them if this is the track you're looking for, this is what you're gonna, and then we show them what the elective options are. And the kids put them down and they bring them home to you and you guys discuss it. We ask that they bring it back to us so we can make a copy in case they get lost. The high schools sometimes ask us, but we give them back to the students so that you can have them, because you will take those forms, those registration forms, and do the actual registrations with the high school. We do not do any high school registrations at Carwise. There has been a couple of times where Eastlake High School, because we have such a large population, has come out and in the daytime and done the kids that are going to Eastlake. But again, this is a different year. I don't know how that's going to look in the spring, especially with the number of kids we have virtually. But the part for you all is that as we get closer to the registration time, we will make sure and we will communicate to you what the nights are for registration, where you need to go for registration, and what you need to bring with you for registration. And if the registration is done at school, then the kids come in on their own. Say it's Eastlake High School, the kids do it on their own. And that's why we request that when these forms come home to you and you look them over and you reach out to the high school and you ask them questions, because we can't answer those questions, that you sign off on it so that they can register when it's time for them to register. Okay. Okay, and I know that there's questions, but I'll come back to them. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share our PowerPoint with you. And start from beginning. Here we go. So we're going to talk about what we're doing to kind of get ready to go to high school. And Mrs. Laird will jump in a lot on this. So Florida law requires that all the students have 24 credits to graduate. A lot of our kids have already started taking high school classes, whether it's a math class or several classes. Some of them are duly enrolled. They take their classes with us and they're moving ahead and taking some classes on Florida Virtual or another platform. Those all follow them over and follow them to high school. As long as they fit in the course, the Department of Education, Florida Department of Education course guide, and they've passed those classes. There is another program called the Excel, which has an 18 credit option. And then there is the ACE program, which is offered at several high schools in Pinellas County. There's also the Cambridge program that's offered in a high school in Pinellas County. And there is the IB program that is offered in, I believe, 3 high schools in Pinellas County. So there's several different programs, but the minimum for high school graduation is 24 credits. And as I was saying, a lot of the kids have taken some classes before they get to high school, so they'll reach that 24 limit before they get to the upper levels, and that's when a lot of the kids will start looking for dual enrollment or early college options. The GPA, if they want to participate in any sports, they need to maintain a 2.0 GPA. It's best for the students to earn a 2.0 to a 4.0. Obviously, if they're taking honors or AP classes, those will be weighted higher. In grade 10, still, they need to take the FSA. And if they don't pass the FSA, they will be required to reach a minimum level on the ACTs or the SATs. Right now, the Florida Department of Education requires that the students pass the EOC for graduation in algebra, and they also need to pass the PERT test. They also need to pass the EOCs in biology and geometry and US history for graduation, but it is required that they take the algebra, and a lot of our students are already enrolled in algebra, so that works to their advantage moving forward to high school. They get it out of the way early. If they do not pass the EOC in middle school, but they pass the course in the algebra class, they will be able to move on to high school, but they will have to retake the EOC before they graduate. It's always my suggestion that they take it sooner than later. So if they do some sort of a study session in the summer, I suggest that they go to that study session so that they can keep it fresh in their mind, because they will move on to the next math level, which is geometry. And it's better that they finish the algebra EOC and then just focus on their geometry, and at the end of the year take their geometry EOC than having to take both of the EOCs at the same time at the end of the year. They offer it in the summer to redo in the summer if they've missed it by a point or two. They also offer it in the November to January window, so they can take it then. But the sooner they can do it, they can do some refresher and take it. I would suggest they wait and do it sooner than wait and do it later. So when looking at their, let me go back, their high school graduation, they're going to need to take certain classes for graduation, and then the other classes will be made up by elective classes that the kids choose, and those will be their electives. And those will go towards the 24 credits. It could be a lot of the kids take classes that are specific, their electives are specific to their course of study. Maybe it's engineering, maybe it's the medical magnet, maybe it's the IB program. A lot of those magnet programs and specialized programs have a track that the kids have to take in order to graduate. So a lot of the kids also take stuff over the summer. Like, for example, you have to take, and it's right here on this page, you have to take HOPE sometime between 9th and 12th grade year. Many of the students do that online. It's offered online for kids to do. So that opens an elective slot for something else they want to do, or a required elective that they want to do in high school. In high school, for graduation, you have to have 4 English credits, 4 mathematics credits, which include algebra and geometry and anything higher. They have to have 3 credits in science. Now, a lot of parents will say, well, they're taking physical science honors this year. Physical science is a high school credit, but it is not a high school credit science class. It falls under an elective credit. They need to take high school social studies. They need to take world history, American history, half a semester of American government, and half a semester of economics that are required. Many of our kids are taking pre-AP this year. It is a social studies credit for us. It is not a social studies credit in high school. It's preparing the kids for the rigor of high school and the probability that they will take AP classes in high school, but it is not a social studies class credit. As I said, with the science, with physical science, it's a high school credit that falls under an elective window, not a high school social studies credit.
And that's the same for social studies too.
For social studies, right. For fine arts, performing arts, practical arts, you have to have at least 1 credit. That would be a full year, because in high school, each of your credits per semester is half. So to get a full English credit, you would have to get first semester and second semester passing to receive a full credit. The same thing with mathematics, science, and social studies. Again, we talked about the HOPE credit. That's a health and PE integrated course. And then the kids do have to take an online class for graduation. And that will all come up into 24 credits.
Actually, easily, 24
Very easily. And it goes really fast. It goes really fast, moms and dads. Those of you that have older children know it goes really, really fast. There is a foreign language requirement for college admission. A lot of the kids have taken 1 to 2 years with us, and they go on to take foreign language in high school. Some of them continue in Spanish, which we have offered them here. Some of them go on and take other languages like French or German or whatever. When they do that, they start new. But when they leave us, if they've taken Spanish 1 or 2, they usually go into Spanish 3. If they've taken Spanish 2 with us, they go into Spanish 3. The Spanish classes that they've taken with us do fall under the foreign language credit. So sometimes the kids go, well, I've done my 2 years. I did Spanish 1 in 7th grade. I did Spanish 2 in 8th grade. I'm done with my foreign language. I'm going to move on and take another elective. And that's great. And that's their prerogative. But just so they keep in mind that when they get to their 12th grade year, a lot of the colleges look for more than just the basic 2 years. They are looking for more than the 2 years. So a lot of their high school peers will be taking 3, 4, 5, depending on what they've done. So it's important to, when they're looking to go into high school, it's all fun and games and enjoy every minute, homecomings and all that kind of stuff. But really make sure you're also looking at what's going to happen post high school. Because as I said before, it's going to go by really fast and you want to make sure you have all your ducks lined up so that you can put in your college applications. And I know, can you believe, moms and dads, we're talking about college applications and we haven't even gotten to high school yet. So again, there's magnet and academy courses. There's certifications, like we have the DIT, and we also have a certification program through our FACS. So there's other certification programs. The DIT that we have, they have other things that will allow them to get certifications, like if they go to the STEM programs or to countryside high schools, that there's things that they can do that they can go right into the workforce because they have that whole bundle. And they can start working clerical jobs. You know, if they want to go get a temp job somewhere, they can work in an office because they're certified in Excel, PowerPoint. I want to say, Dreamweaver. I always go, Dreamweaver. But there's a lot of programs that they have that can help them in these certification programs and help them to put a little gas money in the car. Again, if they're scoring below grade level, there will be options for them that are in intensive or remedial classes for reading and mathematics. Standard diploma. The standard diploma is all 4-year requirements that we've previously discussed. If they're going into one of the other programs like Scholar, Advanced, or Merit, or IB, those will be discussed with you upon entrance into the high school, what those specific requirements are, and those will be provided to you by the the school counselors and the administration at the specific high schools that you're going to, if they're going to be in a special program like the ACE program or the Cambridge or whatever. So those will be specific to those, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes because they speak specifically to what their requirements are. Naviance is something that, do we call it Naviance still, Mrs. Laird?
It was Excello. This year it's a brand new career program called Naviance. So
and in Naviance, we've pulled kids in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and
history classes.
Yeah, they kind of do. They did it through social studies. They kind of do like a career, like find out what they want to do, kind of what do I have to do to get there. And then it also helps them do a 4-year plan. So these are the kinds of classes that I need to look at and be enrolled in if I want to be a veterinarian or if I want to be a chemical engineer or whatever it might be. So it's important to kind of start looking at what that focus plan will be for them so that they're following the right path in their lessons and their math requirements or their language arts requirements or their fine arts, whatever it might be, so that they can follow in that plan. The students do put something into Naviance, like what their plan is, but that's not something that's written in stone. It's something—
It's not their registration.
Right. It's not their registration. It's a living document for them to go in and look at things and see how they're progressing and if they're going in the right direction. They could change their mind. Lord knows I changed my mind 3 times before I settled on education. But so everything is a work in progress. Additionally, Mrs. Laird, I know that the Zello that we have, but does the Naviance allow them to go like last year and look at special schools or kind of take a look?
It does. It's a very thorough program. In this first run where we worked with the students online and here, it was just an introductory, but it does. There's so many times, and that's why we've put this on here, because it's very easy for the students to, on their own time, go through Clever, get onto Naviance. They can cover various, it's called Road Trip Nation, where they're actually hearing about what the people do, the professionals, or what they do in their jobs. They can explore the schools. They can do a lot of virtual tours. It's just a really very neat program, but there's a lot of, and it takes time. So we're trying to get it introduced early enough, but we really, will encourage students to keep looking at this, keep using it. And the county, again, like I said, it's brand new, so we're still doing a lot of exploratory, but the more they can go through here and show you and talk to things, because there are a lot of tasks they can complete on their own. Again, it's their portfolio. So,
yeah, and like I said, it's a living document, so they can go into it anytime and do whatever they want to do with it. Additionally, we had a student last year that was changing schools in the middle of the semester, and he was going to a school up north in like New Jersey or whatever, and he was able to go and take like a little mini tour school that he was going to go to. So it's something that they can take with them and have them follow it with them. So all the kids have been exposed to this, and Mrs. Laird and our counseling team will be talking to the kids about this more, and you'll probably hear more about it when they move on to high school. It talks more here, it gives you a little bit, like it talks about career matching, exploring different careers, and then creating their portfolio. What's really nice, a lot of our kids that are already in DIT or one of our CAB classes or work with the infotech classes, they've already started working on resumes, but the kids, our students that don't have access to the computer class haven't done that. So this is a way for them to start working on resumes. You know, they're going to turn 16 before you know it. They might want to go out and get a little part-time job. You know, they want to know what those interview skills are going to look like, so they don't go in and go, I don't know. Like when they sit in my office, I don't know. So it's all good. It's a nice little program for the kids to use. Again, this is more about the plan, and it is a state requirement, so that you folks know why we've done this. It is a state requirement that we do this, and we do it through our social studies classrooms, which is part of their curriculum. So
Right, and can I interject? As far as mandatory, it is district required. The state strongly encourage it, but this year, again, it's more exploratory. So they will move on to 9th grade. We are, again, if they don't complete all the tasks, that's okay. We're just trying to really work them through it so they're exposed to the program this year. But again, they will keep revisiting this program throughout the high school too.
some of the high school programs that the kids might want to investigate, these are just some. And again, Mrs. Laird said, I think it was page 15. The special programs, the Magnet and Academy programs start on page 15.
Page 13 to 18.
13 to 18. Thank you, Mrs. Laird. There's a lot of programs out there. And it's my suggestion that, you know, we have a lot of kids that they go, oh, I want to go to East Lake because that's where all my friends are going to go. I want to go to Palm Harbor because that's where all my friends are going to go. And don't get me wrong, I know that we make lifelong friendships. My best friend that I have in the whole galaxy, I made when I was 13 years old, and we're still friends today, and I'm not 13 anymore. So, but there's a lot more out there for them. So even if they don't want to go into a special program, I believe the shadowing opportunities, even if they want to shadow in one of these programs, is important to like open their eyes to what they can do post high school. So it's really a good idea if they want to go and shadow someplace and you all are okay with them doing that, that they take the opportunity, or even reach out to the school and see if there's going to be any tours available, family tours. Before you have the parent registration nights, that you can go out there and kind of take a look at what's going on. So I think that's really important that they take that time. And again, if they want to apply to 4 different magnets, 5 different magnets, let them apply, see where they land. You know, they might have a lot of interests, but then that's not to take away from the kids that just want to go traditional high school. That's just as important, and the experiences are just as important, and the friendships and the things that they're going to do. I will tell you that if they are not in one of these academies or magnet programs, they're still going to get stellar educations. All of our high schools in their traditional tracks offer the same honors classes. Really, the difference being in these magnet programs are typically the elective programs that kind of support where they're going to be going in regards to their diploma and the type of diploma they're going to get. So, you know, there's tons of options, sports, clubs, you know, and it's an important time for the kids to find their tribes. You know, a lot of the friendships are going to change, and they're going to find new people and new interests when they go to high school. So this is a really good time to start putting their little feelers out and see what's out there in high school for them. And so again, page 13 through 18 in the booklet is for there. Some of the high school options, again, the first responders down at Pinellas Park, Academy of Finance at Northeast High School, Graphic Arts at Dixie, the CAT program and the Marine Science programs down at Lakewood High School. If your child gets accepted into any of these special programs, transportation will be provided for them. That is different than if they go to a high school of their choice on a special attendance request. If they go to a school that you would like them to go to on a special attendance request, you will be required to transport your child to and from school. But if they're in any of these programs and you're at the most northern part of Tarpon Springs and they're going to most southern part at Lakewood High School, they will provide them busing for them to do that. So that's important. And again, I stress that if they want to go into any of these programs, that you look at those programs and you reach out to the schools, because there's certain things that they're looking for. There's test scores. There's classes that they've taken as prerequisites. Additionally, many of our students, and I know this is a question because we've been fielding some questions about it, our students took the PSATs, and because they haven't had a test since 6th grade, the PSATs are going to be important in making a lot of these decisions. A lot of the high schools will be using them. Is it going to be a requirement? Not so much, but if I show a significant jump on my PSAT than I did in my 6th grade reading, that's going to be significant and not maybe possibly putting that kid in an intensive reading class. The PSAT scores will be coming out to us in about middle January. And as soon as we get those from them, we will send the paperwork out to you all. We disseminate it through either their language arts or English class. The teachers go over how to read that. It links them to a bunch of SAT preps that are specially designed for your student individually. So as they're working on a skill set that they need to do to improve their scores moving on as they get ready to take the SATs or the ACTs when they get to 11th grade. A lot of the kids will take the SATs, the PSATs again in 10th grade. So if they get that information now, they can start working on that and they'll show growth by the time they get to 10th grade. And if they continue to practice, they'll even have more growth by the time they get to their 11th and 12th grade years.
This also applies to our online students. They will be the same information, whether it's about registration or this information, because all the schools are in the same situation. We have online and in person. So we will get it distributed however that may be, whether it's paper or online.
Again, I wanted to talk about the registration again, because there's some people that came in a little later. 8th grade will receive their elective information from us. Now, I will tell you that we will be handing out course request sheets to our current 6th and 7th graders, probably the 3rd week, the beginning of 2nd semester when we come back. That is not the time your 8th graders are going to get their elective sheets. So be aware that we're getting our kids ready, and then as soon as the acceptance period starts to happen, then the high schools will start to roll out their information to us. We will make you aware through Mr. Iban's weekend messages and on our websites, and we will also do a parent connect through the 8th grade office so you all know. So as soon as we get those elective information sheets, we will talk to the students. Mrs. Laird and I pull the 8th grade students, and we kind of try to talk to them specifically by high school clusters. And we always talk to the students about their zone school in addition to their choice school. If it comes out beforehand, because if they are on a waiting list, then we need to look at what their zone school is so they don't miss out on any elective opportunities in case they don't get called up on the wait list. And so we'll call them in by clusters, we'll go over the sheet with them, and then they will take the sheet home with you all to discuss their options, to fill it out, to sign it, bring it back to us so that we can make a copy, and then we will return it to you all through your student so that you can have that when you go to your registration night. The students often receive feedback from their teachers, like, are they ready to be in, English Honors 2 or English Honors 1, or are they going to be in English Honors or regular English? So that's feedback that they're going to get from their teachers. That doesn't mean as a parent, you can't say, I want little Patton to have that honors opportunity. She's right there. She just doesn't test well or something. So you can ask for your student to be enrolled in that. Just know that they're going to monitor them just like we monitor them. And if they need extra support or whatever, they'll reach out to you. If there needs to be a change made, they'll reach out to you. But don't take that necessarily that recommendation as the end all be all to what your plan is for them. Okay. It's the time to have those real honest conversations about where it is they're going and what they want to do. And are they willing to put in the effort for those high school honors classes, for example. The high schools will have a specific night, as I've said before. Those nights will be articulated to us. We always announce them during the lunches for the kids, in addition to putting it on our website and our calls out to the parents. So those happen in the spring, and those will be the registrations at the school. And I'm sure that they will have some sort of a process to get that information out to you guys via, if those of you that are still on My PCS. When we get the stuff here in the spring, what we will do is we will, for anybody that's here that's still on My PCS in the spring for registration, we'll make sure that those forms are available to you on our website so that you can print them out. We'll scan them in so that you can print them out. We'll also have the selection sheet so you can see how all the electives are, so that you can just scan a copy to us and you'll have your registration form. Those of you that are traditional, also, if you just want to scan one to us so you don't think that little Patton over there is going to forget to bring it back to you, you can go ahead and do that as well. Just so we have a copy, because they, like this summer, I'll tell you, when we went down in the spring, all the babies in 6th grade, they had all their course request sheets that went out to them, and then we locked down, and it was before they were supposed to return it to us. And so we were like, well, how are we going to make these choices? Because you don't want to make choices for the kids and then have to change them and then not build your classes accordingly. So we got those all from the parents. They emailed them directly to us. And so that you'll have something, a hard copy that you can communicate to the high schools with. And again, I want to stress that the district application, if you want to do any special programs or magnets, again, that is January 6th through the 15th. These are great websites. And again, because there's a lot of questions about what is my kid going to do when they get to high school. They want to do Bright Futures. They want to get those scholarships. What do I do with virtual school? All these things are available to you, and there's a lot more. Some of the high schools allow them to start their Bright Futures opportunities in the summer. Again,
Great.
something you have to reach out to the high school to find out about. In the past, we've always asked for the kids to come back and volunteer with us to get those volunteer hours. And I'm hoping that our doors will be wide open next year so our babies can come back and volunteer and help the kids that are with us. So that would be amazing. So we can get those hours towards their Bright Futures. There's different requirements depending on if it's 75% or 100% of the scholarship, and they'll explain that all for you. Again, if you want to go more thoroughly through graduation requirements, the website is there for you. And we're going to post this PowerPoint for you all on our website as well so that you can go back. And again, I'm hoping that recording worked, so we'll be able to post that for any parents that came in late or that were not able to join us tonight. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I know that Mr. Iben was looking at all the questions, and I know there's a bunch of chat that happened while I was away on the other. Can Hope online class satisfy both? It will be. I don't know for sure if it does both, Miss.
Yes.
I don't know if it does both, but I think it does. It qualifies for both their online class and their health PE requirements.
Yes, it does. It does.
The Naviance is great. High schools, do the high schools offer an elective SAT prep? No, they don't. In high school, those are out of school types of things, and there's a lot of opportunities. But that's why I say when they get those PSATs back, because it's just the same type of test. When they get those PSATs back, I think that they should link up. We take them down to the lab and we link them up ourselves for them to do some practice. And I think it's important for them to continue to work on that. Hope School Hope is an option online. Yes, Mr. Oster, yes it is. And how do you know if your okay, this is a really good question. How do I know if my student has passed the EOC or is just the honors class? All of our high school algebra classes are high school honors, whether they're in the block class or they're in the single algebra 1 class. So they're all honors classes. When we get to the end of the year, we do not have the EOC score typically when the report card goes out to you all. That will come in later and you all will be notified what their EOC, if they passed or if they failed. And that's what you will find out if it is a pass or a fail. If it is a fail, you will see, because it factors into 30% of their grade. So that's why I say it's real important that the kids have at least a C average, so that in the event that they might fail the EOC, they've still passed the class, so they just have to worry about the EOC. But that will all go out. Mr. Iben sends out all the information. It comes through the state. You'll be notified, and that will all go out for you. Is there anything you want to add in regards to that going out, Mr. Iben? Mr. Iben might have left me.
Oh,
No,
but I would like, oh, there he is.
go
I
ahead.
would like
Go ahead,
to-
Margie.
Oh, go ahead. As far as the ELC, I know that we've had students that have taken the class and they needed to take the ELC. We offer it in middle school in the spring, but the high schools do offer it before that. They offer it in December. So that there's always an opportunity to sign up for that ELC test earlier if necessary. Like we say, take it sooner than later if necessary. And that would be if your child took it as a 7th grader and didn't pass the ELC, but they're in 8th grade now, instead of waiting till the spring during testing, they could take it at the high school. You just need to notify the high schools. And we've had students.
And one of the questions was, how do I know when registration starts if we're not in the zone? We put all that out for you all. And it's all usually in the same like week and a half period of time. So when that becomes available, we'll communicate to you. So if it's something that it's like, say you're in your zone for Eastlake High School, but you want your student to attend Largo High School. So when the registration period comes out, what I would do is I would recommend that you, as soon as you find out that you are accepted on a special attendance program for that school, that you will reach out to that school and ask them when their registration happens. Otherwise, if it's one of our clusters where most of our kids go, whether it's Countryside, Tarpon, Eastlake, Palm Harbor, we communicate all those schools. The outliers, if they've done something special and you have accepted into one of those magnet programs or one of those special programs, you would reach out to the school and they would communicate to you when that registration happens. In regards to summer school, I don't know if summer school is going to be in person or online this year. That's still up in the air based on how we're moving forward. As Mr. Iben gets more information about that, we will communicate that through all you all. Again, I stated that when we do have, when you are in a magnet program or one of those specialty programs, you will be provided transportation. How will the course registrations be handed out to my PCS students? As I said, we're going to get those out to you. We'll scan those in. We don't do anything in regards to
Registering.
kind of directing the kids or counseling the kids on what to do in regards to high school. If you have questions, because the question was, will there be a chance to meet with the AP or the counselor? I would suggest that if you have specific questions regarding high school classes, that you reach out to the high school you want your student to go to and you ask the counselors over there about specific questions. The kids who took algebra last year and never took the EOC, if they were in an algebra class last year, they took the EOC. If they
Not with COVID, they canceled it.
oh no, I'm sorry,
They
you're
were
right.
waived.
We didn't take any tests.
They
last
waived
year.
that this year, excuse me. They waived
You're
that
right.
this year.
Didn't take
So
anything.
those kids that took it as 7th graders, they waived that requirement.
Hmm.
I'll be taking their geometry this year, but those specific kids, it's marked on their course sheet the year that they were in algebra, and that's been waived. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. And they will meet that graduation requirement, Ms. Huey, because they have that because of the situation last spring, what happened. Okay, that I addressed. We have some more questions at the bottom. Are the 7th graders TIP SAT scores? No. It is not. The TIP SAT scores It's just, it doesn't follow them, but it does allow them to get on and start practicing. So if they took the SATs in 7th grade, then they're taking the SATs in 8th grade. The 8th grade SAT will be the one that they're looking at. If they did not come in, if they're a virtual kid and they didn't come in when we offered it for the virtual kids, they might look at that SAT. I'm not sure. That, Ms. Vilches, should be a question that you should reach out to the high school and ask them if that's something they would look at. Be a real good point for them. But again, it's not something, from what I understand from the information we got, Mr. Iben, correct, that it's not something that's required. It was heavily recommended that the kids take it since they have that gap year in regards
Well,
to.
the tip one is different. The tip they won't look at, that's just for the students, and then the parent and student can determine if they want to keep that score or if they want to drop that score once the student takes it again. But typically the 7th grade tip SAT has no bearing on anything other than feedback for the kid.
Yeah, I don't deal very much with the tips, so I'm sorry, I'm not very knowledgeable about that.
And the difference is for PSAT that they take in 8th grade is on grade level. So that's why
Correct.
would be looking at the PSATs.
It's actually on grade level, and there are some questions that are factors that do stretch them. Remember that any question they didn't get to and any question they didn't do, it doesn't count against them. They only count on the PSATs and the SATs, questions that the students got correctly. So if they attempted something and they didn't get it, it doesn't count against them. So that's always a positive thing too. It's just measuring for what they know. For the IB pre-read, if your child didn't start Florida schools until 8th grade, will the previous middle school reading and math scores be considered? The prereqs. If it's on there, if it's in their middle school record, they're going to look at all the classes that they've had prior. Yes. There's no EOC last year. No, they don't need to make that up, as Mr. Iben said. You don't need to register for the EOC. When can you start to register for Hope Online? I would say that you want to do it in the summer, right, Mrs. Laird?
Yes, but they're suggesting trying to sign up sooner than later. So maybe like May, don't wait until June. So,
Yeah.
you know, you can begin toward the end of May, before the end of the school year.
If
Yeah.
you want to take it over the summer, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Otherwise, you can take it, as I said, anytime 9th to 12th grade. I will tell you that it's a labor-intensive class. It's not like, you know, something that they can just flippantly get through stuff. So they're going to need to put some time into it because there's stuff they have to keep records of and things like that. Yes, you can take it in the summer before 9th grade, as Mrs. Laird says. I would looking into that in the late spring before you leave. You put it in, say you're going to do it through Florida Virtual Schools. You put in that you want to take Hope. The request will come to Mrs. Laird and myself. We'll okay the request. It goes back to FLVS. They approve you and they get in touch with you and they start the lessons. We just act as okay, you can go take that class. Do we need to contact the school directly to know the details about what, Mohammed? I'm not real sure what we're talking about. It's graduation requirement to take. Again, we addressed the EOC. It's waived for last year, but everybody this year that's in algebra this year will be taking an EOC this year, and geometry also. What about computers the kids have now? Do they get given back to Carwise? Mr. Iben, would you like to address that?
Well, we're still waiting on a final determination on that. I think what they're looking at is as they leave a school, they'll leave the computer with that school. So if they're 8th going to 9th right now, it looks like they'll leave it, but they haven't 100% said yes or no on that. So more info to come.
Okay, and in regards to the EOCs, my understanding, and we're getting more information regarding testing, and I'll reach out to Mr. O'Bara. He's our testing coordinator, and he's been going to all the meetings. But my understanding is that all the EOCs and the FSAs will be done in person, and we will be doing that and setting up schedules. So even if your student is still a MyPCS student in the spring, and it comes time to take the FSAs and the EOCs, we will be contacting you as to the date and the times for you to have your student on campus so that they can take those tests. Will we be giving, there is not a link for the online courses for Hope. You need to go directly to Florida Virtual School and they will help you with that class. Will we be able to tour the high school that our student has decided to go to? That is something that you will need to reach out to the schools. We don't know what's happening in regards to tours. That's why I suggest you reach out if the student wants to shadow, because I know they're giving shadowing opportunities right now. And then you can also
Even
ask if they're
virtually.
doing a tour. A lot of times the high schools, when they have their registration night or they have like an open house kind of night, an exit night, that's when the parents can come in with their kids and they kind of talk about the sports and the programs and the clubs, and you can walk around the building, but I'm not sure as to any specific tours.
I think it skipped the question right above that. When do we register for zoned high school?
Again, that's going to happen in the spring, as I said. We will get that information out to you. Again, we will be sending out course request forms to the 6th and 7th graders in the next couple of weeks. That is not time for your kids for high school registration. As soon as that stuff becomes available, we will make sure you all know. We will send out a Parent Connect that we have spoken to the kids. The forms are coming home to you. We will also post that online for any of our MyPCS kids. But then the registration will happen after that, and they will tell you when the registration happens. Again, it does not happen through us.
Right. In the past, just so you know, high school registration took place end of February, early March. But again, our calendar is a couple running 2 weeks later, so things may be a little bit, maybe mid-March. But we'll give you the dates as soon as we receive them.
And I did so good on time at 6:28.
Beautiful.
You're lucky.
If anybody,
Good
if
job.
anybody has, if anybody has any specific questions, please email Mrs. Laird or myself. Our email addresses are on the school website, and we'll be happy to help you in any way we can. If something pops in your brain, or you go back and you look at the video, or you look at the PowerPoint, oh, I have this question, please reach out to us and we will be happy to answer any questions. You're very welcome. Thank you again, everybody, for coming. I really, those of you that don't have your kids here, I see you, Lethea. Hi, Lethea.
Thank you. We
Kids,
appreciate all of you.
kids.
And your children.
But you know, if you have any specific concerns, you want to set up parent conferences, you have concerns about, you know, you're looking at their focus, you're kind of like, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you in any way possible.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a
Thank
great
you.
turnout. Yay for everybody. Thank you so
you.
much. You all have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you for coming.
We appreciate your time.
We do appreciate your time. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night. Drive safe.
Nice. Thanks, Patton.
No worries.
You know,
Thank you, ladies, very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ivan, for setting this all up.
Yes,
Thank you.
we
for getting us the
appreciate it.
link.
Now I need to figure out how to
I
stop
think,
recording.
I think